It's the rejection for me. Imagine being that rejected. Oh, poor Daphne. What up, people of the internet? My name is Kevin and welcome back to another video. Okay guys, so for today's video, I am reading a book that I have low-key been looking forward to reading because the show has just been everywhere, and I'm sure you all agree. It's been everywhere. You've probably seen it yourself. But I have not watched the show yet, and the show, of course, is Bridgerton. And if you don't know, this is actually a TV show that was adapted from a book series, and the first book in that series is The Duke and I by Julia Quinn. So here it is. This is obviously the TV show cover edition, and I really want to watch the show, but I was like, I cannot allow myself to watch the show without reading the book first, or at least the first book, because I doubt I'm gonna read the rest of the series. But I was like, I have to read the first book before I watch the show. It just has to happen. I can't allow myself not to do that. Now, I don't know too much about it. I know that it's an adult romance series and that it takes place in the olden times. Of course, because the book's called The Duke and I, no one's called the Duke anymore, unless you're Duke from She's the Man. Channing Tatum. That's the only Duke I know. So yeah, I know it's an adult romance series, and I'm pretty sure it is supposed to be similar or have like similarities to Gossip Girl. Don't know how it's similar to Gossip Girl, but I just know it has that similarity. I also know that in the show, they use modern music and they play it on violins. So like, I know Taylor Swift's Wildest Dreams is in the show, which I stan because that's one of my favorite Taylor Swift songs of all time. So it already has bonus points for that. But as for the book, I don't know too much, and I'm just going to dive straight in. I'm going to give it a read, and then finally I can watch the show and just see what it's all about. I don't know if I'm going to read any of the rest of the books in the series. I kind of just want to read the first book and then watch the show. Like, that's just all I wanted to do. And it's not that long. It's only like 337 pages, so I think I might fly through this. So we shall see. I will obviously be sharing all of my spoiler thoughts. So if you do not want to be spoiled for this book, then do not continue watching, because I'm literally going to just say everything that's going on, give you all my thoughts and reactions. And yeah, here we go. Time for me to read Bridgerton, The Duke and I for the first time and see what is all of the hype. Okay, so I'm about to start reading the book. Here we go. Wow. There's a lot of books in this series. Okay, I'm up to page 12. I just finished the prologue, and I have never hated a character so quickly in my entire life than I do Duke Hastings, this father. I hate him. The things he just said, I hate him. I hate him so much already. And I do want to mention that at the very start of this book, there is definitely a content warning and trigger warning for miscarriages, just in case this is a book you ever want to pick up. So basically, there is this Duke named Duke Hastings, and he has always wanted a son because he wants an heir to like his estate, I'm assuming, and all this kind of stuff. So he's just always wanted a son so that he would have an heir. So he finally does get a son, and that's Simon. And basically Simon grows up, and when he gets to about 4, the father, Duke Hastings, is kind of like, okay, why is he not speaking? Like, this isn't normal for a 4-year-old not to speak. And he starts getting really annoyed with like the nurse that's like looking after the son and stuff like that. And then Simon, the son, does end up speaking, but he stutters. And basically the dad then calls him horrible names and basically disowns him and wants nothing to do with him. And he like moves away to London and stuff like that and just never visits his son. But his son then obviously gradually grows up. The nurse has been working with him with his speech and like helping with his stutter and stuff like that. And then when he's about 11, him and the nurse finally go to see his dad. And when they get there, there's a butler, and the butler's like, what are you talking about? Duke Hastings doesn't have a son, his son's dead. And it's just the fact that he's told everyone that he doesn't have a son and his son isn't alive anymore and all this kind of stuff. And that's how much he's disowned him. Basically, he finally sees his dad, and his dad is just like, I see you're still mollycoddling the boy. And the nurse says, you, sir, she spat out, are despicable. And I'm like, oh my god, okay, I already stand this nurse, like, iconic. And then Duke Hastings goes, and you, madam, are fired, okay? So he just fired my iconic queen. Not happy about that, but don't worry, she gets her job back, it's fine. And he just says even more awful things to his son, and then he just says to the nurse, get him out of my sight. He spat at her. You can keep your job just as long as you keep him away from me. And I'm just so angry with this Duke of Hastings. Like, oh my god, I just realized Sebastian Hastings is the name of the character in She's the Man, and I just said the Duke, which is Channing Tatum. Do you see the parallels? And then Simon ends up speaking up for himself, and he's like, I am your son, and all this kind of stuff. And then the Duke just goes, go home. The Duke said in a low voice, there is no place for you here. I can't stand this man. And then the very last line of the prologue is just, if he couldn't be the son his father wanted, then by God, he'd be the exact opposite. He's gonna be petty. We stand. Already like Simon, already like the nurse. Iconic behavior. I'm here for it. Okay guys, so I'm now up to chapter 2 of the book and up to page 25, and I do want to talk just because I've kind of got some of the info that I need to know. So the way that this is going to be similar to Gossip Girl, there is this newspaper that comes out in like the town and stuff, and there's always an article by someone called Lady Whistledown, and she kind of just spreads all of the gossip, tells all of the tea. We all know I'm going to stan her. She is going to be sharing all of the tea. I'm going to be living for her moments to see what she's going to spill next. Like, I will be here for that. So that's obviously where I'm thinking the Gossip Girl comes from, because she kind of is Gossip Girl. And then I'm assuming that this is Simon, and I'm assuming this is Daphne. She is one of the Bridgerton daughters. That's a family name, is Bridgerton, which is another thing, because I thought that was like the name of like a town or something, but no, Bridgerton is their family name, and she is the oldest daughter in the Bridgertons. And obviously where I am now, it's set more into the future, because Simon's not as young as he was in the prologue, and his father has now died, so he is now the new Duke of Hastings, even though he just said like he doesn't want to take that title, and he doesn't even know if he wants to like come into society and all those kind of things. So we'll see how that goes. But because of the way he's looking at her, I think we know where this is going. My bookmark just fell out of my book. Alexa, play Driver's License by Olivia Rodrigo. I can't take this.
Driver's License by Olivia Rodrigo on Amazon Music.
Anyways, so that's basically what's been happening. And we know that Daphne's brother Anthony is like best friends with Simon. And yeah, that's all we know so far. And there's like a ball coming up that they're going to be going to. I'm assuming Simon's going to show up to it, even though he said he doesn't want to go. Just look at how they're looking at each other. That's love. And also another thing, when I'm reading this book, my narrator in my head has a British accent. I'm literally reading it with a British accent. Like, every single dialogue, British accent up here. I have like such a typical Essex accent in my head, and I don't know why. I can't help it. Gemma Collins maybe is just too impactful to my life or something, because that's all it's in my head. It's like a English Gemma Collins accent when I'm reading this entire book. Okay guys, so I'm now up to page 61 of the book, and I'm up to chapter 4. And I've ended up getting the audiobook for the book because I can hear them like in their British accent, and it just makes the story so much better, because I'm picturing this British accent in my head anyways. So now that I have the audiobook, I can hear it just perfectly, and it's just making the story so much better. Not gonna lie, I was slightly bored for a little bit. I was kind of like, okay, I'm bored. But now Simon and Daphne have like met each other, and I think it's gonna be like a hate to love romance. The way they met is like she was in an alteration with this guy named Nigel. She ends up punching him and like basically knocking him out. And Simon sees this, he comes to help her and stuff, and then he finds out that she's Anthony's brother and all that kind of stuff. And they're just like bickering with each other back and forth. And one of the things he says to her was so funny. And especially because, as I said, I have the narrator in my head now for the audiobook, and it's a British accent. It was making it even funnier. So I'm going to tell you what it is. Also, I don't know if you noticed, I'm in a new location. I'm sitting beside my bookshelf on a beanbag. I'm down here, I'm very comfortable, not going to lie. So what he says is, they're like saying like what they're gonna do with the guy that's knocked out, because they don't want anyone to see like they knocked someone out. Well, they didn't, Daphne did. So she says, I have a better idea, she said suddenly. Let's just leave him here. The Duke's head swung around to face her, and he looked as if he'd clearly like to toss her through a window, preferably one that was still closed. I don't know why I find that funny, but I'm just picturing this guy trying to throw her out the window. The window's closed, and like she doesn't like break through the window, she just like rebounds off it or something. I don't know, but it's a very funny image that I have in my head and I just found it so funny. Okay, time for another update. So I'm now up to page 77 of Bridgerton and I just want to make a little theory guess before I continue on because I think I already know who Lady Whistledown is and I'm going to guess it's Penelope Featherington, I think is their last name. Basically there was this like lady who came up with her 3 daughters. They were like Penelope, Prudence, and something else with a P. They all had P's as their names. And now the Penelope one was very quiet and like she seems to be like not like other girls kind of thing. And so I'm just gonna hazard a guess that she is Lady Whistledown. I'm convinced. I just want it to be known before we continue on because I'm sure we're probably gonna find out who it is. But I want it to be known that I think it is Penelope. And that's the tea. XOXO, Lady Whistledown. Okay everyone, so it's just Barney Couture, Lady Whistledown here, just popping in to give you some catch up on everything that's been going on. So I'm now at page 92 and I'm on chapter 6 and we basically just found out that this is going to be a fake dating book. If you guys don't know, the fake dating trope is one of my favorites in books. I love it so much. And basically the Dukes Simon and Daphne have decided that they're going to pretend like they're kind of courting together and like I don't know what's the word I'm looking for. Basically like everyone really wants Simon to like accept himself into society and like become into the society and like accept his role as a duke, find a wife and all that kind of stuff. And then obviously Daphne's mother and everything wants Daphne to marry a man. And so they both like are being forced by society to marry someone. And then Simon came up with the idea and he was like, oh my god, why don't we just like pretend that we're interested in marrying each other and then everyone just leave us alone. Love that for them. If only someone would do that with me, that would be great. Actually no, I don't want the fake. I want the real. But I can't get that. And that's where everything is. I'm not gonna lie, the pacing of this book or something is not sitting with me. I am not hating it or anything, like it's fine, but also at the same time like I'm finding it to read like I'm reading a classic, or maybe that's just because it's like set in like the past, like it's historical fiction and I don't really read that. And I don't know, like I feel like I'm reading like Pride and Prejudice or something and like classic books are just not my vibe. Like I just don't really like them that much. And I think that could be one of the reasons that this isn't sitting perfectly with me. I'm enjoying like the whole Lady Whistledown things at the start of the chapters because it's such tea and like gossip and I live for it. I want more like drama to happen. So I'm hoping now that we know they're fake dating, stuff's gonna unfold from there. I'm gonna continue reading. Barney will be back to give you more of an update. Okay guys, so I've just taken a little break from where I'm reading because I just wanted to talk about something that's so stupid. And I can't believe I'm about to have a conversation about this. In many of my vlogs, if this isn't your first time watching one of my reading vlogs, I always talk about sometimes when an author really enjoys repeating a certain word throughout her books. And in this one, there is no exception. There is a word that the author keeps repeating and I don't know why. And that word would be rake. Yes, a rake. I don't know why. They keep calling Simon a rake. Like, oh, you're such a rake. Like, in my head, a rake to me is what you use to, like, clean up leaves. Like, that's what you use a rake for. To, like, clean up the leaves and rake them up and then throw them out, like. That's what you do. So, why are they calling him a rake? Like, you don't see people calling someone a shovel. Like, oh my god, you're such a shovel. I don't get it. Why are we naming people after equipment that you use for gardening? And just so you can get an understanding as to like how it's constantly being repeated. So it says, Daphne laughed. I don't know how anyone considered you a rake. Your sense of humor is far too superb. Superb. Why? Guys, I have filmed me saying this one line so much. Why can't I say superb? I just said it. Anyways. And here we rakes thought we were so wickedly droll. A rake's humour, Daphne stated, is essentially cruel. One of his brows lifted in a rather superior manner. And you wouldn't classify your brothers as rakes? They only think they are rakes, she corrected. There is a considerable difference. Simon snorted. If Anthony isn't a rake, I pity the woman who meets the man who is. There is more to being a rake than seducing legions of women, Daphne said bitterly. Why are they talking about rakes? I don't get it. I really don't get it. Like, maybe I missed it when I was supposed to understand what a freaking rake was. Okay guys, so it is the next morning and I'm doing some more reading. I got up to page 125 last night, up to chapter 8. Basically all that has happened is Simon and Daphne have told Daphne's brother Anthony, who is Simon's best friend, that they're doing like this fake relationship thing. That's basically all that happened. And they've also still been talking about rakes, okay? So I've just established at this point that it must mean something in historical fiction, like it must be a term, a slang term, something to mean something else, because it cannot mean garden utensils. I think I knew that all along, that it didn't mean that anyways, but that was all I was picturing. So I just had to Google it and find out what it was. And I found out what it was. And it basically says, in a historical context, a rake was a man who was habituated to immoral conduct, particularly womanizing. So this whole book, they're calling men womanizers. Is Bridgerton a Britney Spears stan? Oh my god, they're singing about being a womanizer. They're literally Britney stans. And it's like Bridgerton, Britney. I'm reaching here, but I'm gonna keep reaching. Anyways, and then the rest of it says, often a rake was also prodigal, wasting his fortune on gambling, wine, women, and song, and incurring lavish debts in the process. So basically, I get what it is. He's basically a fuckboy. A rake means a fuckboy. Period. That's what it means. So I'm glad that I've now figured this out, and it just makes so much more sense now. I obviously did know it wasn't a garden utensil. Like, I knew that, but that was all I was picturing, so I'm glad I actually figured out what it means. So yeah, I'm going to continue reading now and hopefully make a lot more progress today, because it is a little bit slow as well, and I kind of am just hoping it picks up, but we shall see and see where it goes. Okay guys, so I'm just sitting here like listening to my audiobook, and Simon and Daphne have finally kissed, and this was my exact reaction when it happened. Like, I just didn't care. I did not care whatsoever. I don't know what it is, but I'm not connecting to either of them. Like, if you asked me which one I preferred, I would say I prefer Simon. I really don't like Daphne for some reason. I don't know why. Like, she hasn't even done anything to annoy me or anything, but I'm just not connecting to her at all. And I like Simon because he has this like air of mystery about him. Like, why does he not want to get married? Why does he not want kids and all these things? I don't know if I actually mentioned that, but he said several times he doesn't want to get married, he just want to have kids, and he also does not want to be the Duke and take over for his dad. So that's all the mystery towards him, because we're trying to figure out like why he doesn't like all these things. So that's that. And like, I do not see a romantic spark between the two of them. Like, one of their conversations was about Greenwich. Like there was like no flirtiness there. Like, I felt no connection between them. And then the only other character that I'm really liking, and we just got literally like one scene with him so far, and that's Colin. It's one of her older brothers, and he was so sarcastic and funny to her that I was like, oh, I like him. I like Colin. Like, I think he would be my favorite character, but he's barely in it. Like, that was literally his only scene. That's literally it. I'm really bored reading this, and I've been like talking to my friends Emily and Parina about it because they've both watched the show, and I was telling them everything that happened in the book, and they were like, oh, this sounds very different to the TV show. So I'm thinking in the TV show they added a lot more to it to make it like more exciting and more, you know, fun and engaging to watch, because the book is really boring. Like, I'm really bored. I don't hate it because it's not like awful or anything. I'm just bored. Okay, it's just what I said, it was getting boring. We got some tea. I'm here for it. I'm also finding this so funny, and I know it's probably not meant to be funny, but I'm finding this hilarious. So I'm up to page 190 now, and basically, as I said, Simon and Daphne kissed or something at the ball, and her brother Anthony found them, and as we've already said, like, Anthony doesn't want them together kind of thing, and he found them kissing and he started punching Simon for it. Then he was like to Simon, oh, well, now you have to marry her, like, you can't just kiss her and everything, all this kind of stuff, like, you need to go, like, you need to get married now. And Simon straight up was like, nope. Not doing it. Absolutely not. And now he's gonna get killed, like, at a duel instead because he didn't want to marry her. It's the rejection for me. Imagine being that rejected. Oh, poor Daphne. She just got rejected so hard. He chose death over marrying you. That's... Oh. Like, that's not funny. That's not funny. But I can't help myself. So that has just happened. And it's the day of the duel. And she showed up and she was like, save me, Simon. Save me. And all this kind of stuff. So I'm assuming he is gonna marry her now. But like, the fact he went to a duel instead of just marrying her. He really woke up that day and chose death instead of marriage. And yeah, that's where I am, and it definitely got better because that happened and I was like, oh my god, this is such tea, like I'm here for it. And like Lady Whistledown is like commenting about it. I'm here for it. I'm here for it. Okay, so I'm now up to page 212 of the book and it's definitely getting so much better now. There's like just so much more stuff happening. Basically, we found out that they are going to get married, like they are getting married, like the marriage has already been set up and everything, all the date and all this stuff happening. Basically, we found out also that Simon had to tell her that he doesn't want kids and like he can't have kids. And she was very upset by that because she wants to be a mother and everything. But she was like, that's fine, I still want to marry you and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, that's something that we found out. And then where we are right now, like I think it's the day before the marriage or like 2 days before, and Daphne's mother is giving her the conversation and like the chat, and I am stanning Violet, the mother, so much right now. Basically, she's saying like the way you consummate a marriage is to sleep with your husband on the night of your marriage and stuff like that. And then she's also saying that like the way you prove that you consummated your marriage is by having a baby. And so Daphne's like, wait, what? And then she says to her mom, so you did this 8 times? Because in Daphne's family, there's 8 children, including herself. And so she's like, you did this 8 times, mother? And it's literally just like, Violet began to fan herself furiously. Yes, no, Daphne, this is very personal. But how could you have had 8 children if you... I did it more than 8 times, Violet ground out, looking as if she wanted to melt right into the walls. Daphne stared at her mother in disbelief. You did? Sometimes, Violet said, barely even moving her lips and certainly not moving her eyes off a single spot on the floor. People just do it because they like to. Here for this. I'm here for this conversation. That's everything. We stand. We stand Violet. She's an icon. Okay guys, so now I'm up to page 251, chapter 16. I have like 80 pages left, and like I've said it already, right? I have not been hating this book. Like there's literally been nothing for me to like hate the book or anything. So it's been like kind of a 3-star read, and like there's been parts where I was like, oh my god, T, living for this, love it. But then it gets boring and I'm just like, I'm not understanding why this has been all over social media. Like, I'm not getting it. But like I said, I'm thinking that the show is so much different to the book, because I know this is a series of books and I'm pretty sure that each book follows a different Bridgerton member, or like family member. So this one obviously is all about Daphne. So I'm assuming in the TV show, what they've done is that they've kind of combined all of their stories into the one season, and like they're doing it that way. So that would make sense why the show is probably more entertaining and stuff. But anyways, where I am right now is Simon and Daphne have been married. They have now gone to Clevedon as well, where Simon is like the Duke of, and they've gone back there, and they've also had their first sexual intercourse moment. It was a moment, certainly a moment. And now when they're in Clevedon and everything, Daphne has asked Simon's like maid, one of the maids of the house and everything, about Simon and stuff, and she got so much information about him. She found out about his stammer, how he didn't speak until he was 4, and like how his dad thought he was so stupid and all this kind of stuff, and how they didn't have a great connection and all that kind of stuff. So she has just found out so much about Simon that Simon doesn't know that she knows that she knows. I feel like I'm talking about Friends, like I'm being Phoebe right now. They don't know that they know that we know they know. And yeah, that's basically where I am. As I said, I've only 8 or so pages left, so I don't know what's gonna happen in the last 80 pages to like make this now suddenly amazing or anything. Okay guys, so I'm now to page 265. And we just found out that Simon has been lying to Daphne because he is able to have children, he just doesn't want them. And he like explained his whole reasoning behind that because they kind of had like this little falling out. And he basically like was going on about like all of his childhood trauma about with his dad and stuff, and about how his dad was so obsessed with getting an heir, and like all of this pressure that his dad put on him, and then like his dad disowning him and all that kind of stuff. And he's saying that like he just doesn't want children because he doesn't want that same pressure to ever go on past his lineage, and like he just wants it to die with him and not let it be carried on to future generations. And I actually really understand his reasoning, and it honestly makes a lot of sense to me. Like, I'm literally like, yeah, I get this. This makes actually quite a lot of sense to me. And Daphne is really upset about it and everything because obviously he lied to her and stuff, which I get like why she's upset and everything, but at the same time, he had such trauma there, so I understand why he didn't want to speak about it. But I'm going to continue reading, and I'll come back to you when I've done, maybe, because I only have like 70 pages left, so I think I'll just come back to you when I've finished. Okay everyone, so I have finally finished reading Bridgerton, The Duke and I by Julia Quinn, and I think before we go into anything else, I'm going to give this probably a 1 out of 5 stars. Because I didn't hate the book. I think I made that very clear throughout the vlog that I didn't hate it. I did find it boring at times and stuff, but I never like despised or hated what was going on. I thought it was just fine. Like, didn't really connect to the romance or the characters, and I just thought it was a little bit boring. But then there was times where there was tea and I was living for it. I think I said already in the vlog that I was thinking it was gonna be 3 stars, but then the ending happened and it's gone straight to a 1 star for me. Like, the ending ruined it for me, and I really do not like the ending of this book. And before I get into the ending, I want to give a content warning for the end of this book and a trigger warning for sexual assault and rape. So if you don't want to hear my thoughts on that, that's basically gonna be it for this video, so you can stop watching if you don't want to hear about that, because I don't want to trigger anyone that's watching. So, the ending of this book, we know that Simon does not want to have kids. And we also know that Daphne is very innocent and she doesn't really know anything about sex. Like, she literally doesn't really know anything. She had a discussion where her mom, like her mom told her about stuff. Like, I read that part out to you. But she never gave her like the full details about anything really, like what happens to get pregnant, all that kind of stuff. She never told Daphne. So Daphne was very innocent when it came to all of that. So when they finally did have sex, her and Simon, she didn't really understand what you're supposed to do and everything. And one thing that he did, because he didn't want kids, is that he would stop when he was getting to that moment and not, you know, inside of her. And like I said, Daphne didn't really know anything about that, and like she didn't really know how like a baby was made and all that kind of stuff. So she never really thought anything of that. Like, she just thought that's what you're supposed to do, like what he was meant to do. And then she finds out from like a maid or something that Simon needs to be doing that inside of Daphne for her to get pregnant. So he is able to have kids, he just is refusing to do it. So basically he was lying to her and taking advantage of her innocence and manipulating her and doing like what he wanted to do. So for that, I didn't like Simon for that, because I think he should have just been open and honest with his wife. So yeah. However, then from that, Daphne is pissed. She's angry because she wants a child and she doesn't like that it's gone this way. And then they have a big fight. He explains to Daphne why he did what he did. And he explains like all of his trauma about with his dad and how he doesn't want to have a child and put that pressure on his son or daughter in the future. And she knows all of this. So then he goes out and gets drunk. He comes home and he like begs her like to forgive him and stuff like that. They do. She puts him to bed. She sleeps in the bed with him. Then she wakes up in the middle of the night. He is still asleep. And she starts to have sex with him. He wakes up during it and he's like into it, but like he is still drunk, bear this in mind. And it gets to that point and he wants to stop because he doesn't want to do that. So basically he says, "Oh Christ, I'm going to, I can't." His eyes pinned upon her with a strange pleading sort of look. And he made a feeble attempt to pull away. Therefore showing he was not consenting to this. So therefore it was non-consensual sex. And then this triggers his stammer and it comes back and he has that big fight and he leaves. Then the main thing that I am so annoyed about is Daphne doesn't see what she did and how it was wrong. She thinks that like, oh, I don't think it was that bad like what I did. I think it's okay, like I wanted my baby and all this kind of stuff. And that's what annoys me so much, is like how she just does not see what is so bad about what she just did. And then basically she ends up thinking that she's pregnant because her period is late, and she contacts Simon to let him know that she's pregnant. Then we find out that she actually wasn't. It was just that her period was late and she wasn't actually pregnant. And he comes back to her. He apologizes basically for leaving. And like he says that like he wasn't mad at what she did. It was more that he was annoyed that his stammer came back and all of that kind of stuff. And then they kind of just work through it all and work through the problems, and they both decide that, you know what, they actually are going to try have a baby. And then in the epilogue we find out that they did have a child named David and a boy, and it kind of just like wraps up like all happily ever after, and there's like no real consequence for what she did. And it's not really like discussed, and that's what irritates me. And I've talked to my cousin Emily who's watched the show, because obviously I don't know how it's handled in the show, if it's even in the show. It is in the show apparently, but it's handled very differently because apparently he's not even drunk in the show where he is in the book. I don't know. I just did not like how that was handled at the end. I really, really didn't like it. It was very uncomfortable to read. I just did not like it at all. And for that, it immediately affected my rating and enjoyment of the book. So yeah, that's my overall thoughts. 1 out of 5 stars. I am going to watch the show and see if it's better, because apparently it is. Well, people are telling me it's a lot better, so I'm hoping that is correct. If you guys have read the book and you've seen the show, let me know your thoughts down below. Which one is better? I would love to know. But other than that, that is gonna be it for this reading vlog. I really hope you guys enjoyed it, and I shall see you all next time in my next video. So goodbye, guys.